The time has come, it's almost here. Another day on the markets, approached with no fear. The stage is set, all engines go. Welcome to the angle. Let's start the show. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. Markets rise and markets fall. Atomcash is ready to answer the call. While the bulls charge hard and the bears dig deep, the angle will keep you on your feet. Hold on tight. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. Cashing in on the highs and lows, where the wind of fortune constantly blows. No looking back, keep your eyes on the prize. Fuel the run with a fire that never dies. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. No time to delay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the most entertaining, intellectually stimulating financial podcast in the entire world. You're watching the Atomcash Angle, the show that flips the switch and floods the system with straight financial voltage. I'm Atomcash, and I'm bringing you the firepower your financial life may have been missing. Now, whether you're new to trading or a trading savant, I'm to turn complexity into clarity with a shot of adrenaline. And it is Thursday. We're almost done with the week, and we're already off to a... Man, this week feels like a month. This day feels like a year. Everything, all the time, everything's just so much. I don't even have words to express it because of everything that's going on. It seems like every single day there's just these new catalysts, new news, new everything coming down the pike. But don't worry, I'm here to help you get through it all and get through all of the rigmarole, the news, the noise that is going on in the market right now. Now, earlier this morning, I saw something come through that Trump is set to make an announcement today at 3 p.m. What that will be, I don't know. But what we're going to do today is if we hit 13 likes, because we're somewhere between 10 and 15 lately, so if we hit 13 likes plus 3 more subs on the YouTube channel, that'll put us at 200 subscribers. By the way, thank you for your support. I will do a power hour stream, basically a dry test run of a new show I'm working on called Atomcash After Dark, which is going to typically be a show for after the market closes, but we'll do a little special run for that Trump announcement, see if there's something we can cover live on the program. So if you like that idea, do me a favor real quick, pop on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and we will make that a thing that will happen today. Now, looking at the market right now, we're pretty flat on the day. That Super Devil's number, as I call it, the number of the beast, 666.66, has acted as a decent support here in the pre-market, even in the after hours yesterday. Sold off and just came a little shy of that before the close. Now into the open, we kind of fluffed around it and then ended up back testing it after popping up to the upside. Decent area of support here on the SPY, even though we are down in the pre-market at this point in time. So you're going to want to watch. This is your basically the key level to watch today. Now, I also told you guys yesterday how important that 670.23 level was. I told you guys during the stream before it even broke that it could have broken, right? So let's go back to yesterday real quick and do a little rewind. Basically, the whole entire time I was live, because I was live till around 10:30-ish, we stayed north of that 670 level. And I said, as long as you're north 670.23, you're more than likely going to stay bullish on the market. However, you should be very careful because of where VIX was sitting at the time yesterday. which was, here's yesterday, north of this 1830 because you were in this big range that I showed to you guys. And I said there is a strong chance that VIX could expand here because it's in this range. They're between two massive big LOIs, which means you can move either which way. There's a big flux in volatility. Consequently, I said if that level broke, you would probably see a VIX move to support a downside move overall, which is what we saw. We saw VIX pop up, went a little bit further than that 2030, but you can also see right here, I mean, this is 5-minute chart, so we left some level of a wick, right? If you want to go out to 30-minute, probably looks more easier to see. And then quick rejection back down to that 1830, where it's been a little bit more comfortable lately, coinciding with the market getting some level of a post-fall rally here into the close. Now, we didn't get back over that 670.23 level, but better than not. So as long as we're under this 670.23 level, I would heavily suggest you consider being very cautious on the market today and for the rest of the week, because underneath that level sets us pretty bearish for the week. Looking at the daily chart, let's zoom out here. Let's hide all my drawings. Let's zoom in. Not the best daily candle here. However, we did close above all of our EMAs and MAs. We even wicked the daily POC, as you can see, that green dotted line on my chart, where the most volume is traded by price, at least in this time frame. Wicked it and came back up and closed over all these major important daily levels. However, if we look at the weekly here, this is not stoking a lot of confidence. Now, we actually have a doji candle, at least so far on this week, and we have 2 days left. So this is showing major indecision if this weekly candle closes like this. And you basically have 2 inside bars inside this big old red one. I know it's not an inside bar of the previous candle, but you're still inside this big old red bar from 2 Fridays ago. So this is not a good sign, at least yet. We still have today, we still have tomorrow. I will say that I am actually leaning on the side of seeing a bull move, knock on wood, hopefully today. Based off of yesterday's and the previous day's price action, this allowed some of this little tiny rally that we had here from the prior 2 days to kind of cool off, swept to the downside, and closed higher. This does look somewhat hopeful, but volatility is still high, so it's still very unclear of which way the market could be leaning or is leaning. But if I had to pick a side, I'd prefer to be a bull in this environment, but an extremely cautious bull. Because, like as I said again, as long as we're under 670.23 on the weekly, we are remaining bearish. So I have some bull bias intraday, but with a lot of caution, right? We got to watch volatility very. Toby, shut up. You got to watch volatility very closely. And you gotta watch the SPY, and where the SPY is sitting very closely today. So we're gonna see what happens. What I do like to see in the pre-market right now, and you guys know I like to look at IWM as a kind of like sentiment gauge, right? And as we looked at the weekly, actually let's look at the weekly. When we looked at the weekly at the beginning of the week on Monday's show, I mentioned how I really hated this wick, gnarly wick. Showing a lot of price rejection. Even though it closed green, we showed that we pushed to the highs and closed lower. That's not a good look on the week. Daily, this also isn't looking good either. However, we're green a little bit in the pre-market here versus a red Qs and basically a flat SPY. So this could signal to me that we're seeing a little bit more risk appetite flow into the market in the very early stages of the day. So keep an eye on IWM. I like it holding above this 242.39 LOI. We're currently $2 above it, which is great. I would watch this old all-time high, because I haven't moved this fib retracement yet, of 244.98. That's going to be the sticking level you're going to want to watch today. It's 244.98 on IWM. Above that, we could see some bull flow, some bull volume, I should say, not flow, come into the Russell 2000, which could lend some bullish sentiment into the market, hopefully. Now, again, to reiterate once more, it really depends on volatility. If you are a bull today, we want to see it break under this 1830. It will not be an easy break, but if we see a break under 1830, or we see the market, even though it's sub that 670.23, if we see the VIX decay, that could be an inkling, even though we're under that key level on the weekly, that the market is at least bullish intraday. And again, we still have Trump at the end of the day that could throw a wrench in the works, but at least as we're opening right now, I'm leaning more bullish than bearish at this point in time. Now, that being said, let's do a quick little check-in on Tesla. Tesla reported their earnings last night. Not the best, not the worst, but definitely not the best. And you're seeing that reaction right now in pre-market, only down about 4% though, which is not really a major reaction off of those earnings. I mentioned this in our community exclusive trading and my morning thoughts, which is basically me saying what I think basically when I wake up, and sharing that to our community. And I essentially said you got to keep in mind how Tesla and consequently how stocks like Tesla and Nvidia are evaluated. And they're not evaluated for how much money they really bring in right now. These are very, very, very forward-looking companies, and people are betting on the future with these companies, and very much so. So for people investing in Tesla, and I'm saying people meaning large money, they're investing in basically the robotics, right? They're investing in all the other stuff that Tesla does that isn't just the cars, right? The cars are just like its backbone at this point. But everything else is what gives Tesla this premium evaluation. So when we look at earnings for a company like Tesla, we look at earnings for a company like Nvidia, you have to keep in mind that you're very, very, very forward looking, and any growth slowdown in these names can be aggressively bearish. Was Tesla's ER bad? It really is, I would say, a subjective opinion to say if it's good or bad. The market will tell us if it's good or bad. But what I think, and why I kind of warned about it yesterday, was we're sitting at these highs and we're not seeing like a big push either which way. So there's definitely some level of price discovery up here. I think you're going to see Tesla bounce around like 411 to 440 for a little while longer before we get some level of directionality out of Tesla, regardless of its earnings at this point. I think what's going to matter more to Tesla is if we're mentioning anything about development of robotics or any of the other things that Tesla works on versus robotaxi and other car things. That's already completely baked in. So as an investor, if you're already long Tesla, I think you're pretty safe as long as you're north of, like, again, 411. I'd feel pretty happy. Still, if you break under 411, you might want to consider stop, I should say, under 411, 406 area. As long as you're north of that, you should be pretty okay on Tesla, at least in my opinion here. More of a medium long-term outlook. That is, again, to say that I do think we're going to sit in about a 40-point range chop here for probably a month, and we'll see if we get an end-of-year rally like I'm thinking we'll see with everything else. We got 2 minutes till the market opens. Let's do a quick little double check. Make sure there's no news coming down the pike, which I don't think there is. Eddie dropping the year in the chat. Good morning, my friend. We have existing home sales at 10 o'clock, and again, Trump making an announcement at 3, and a White House press briefing at 1. So we have a little White House catalyst that we may see during the day later today. So we'll keep an eye on that. The only other thing I want to keep an eye on is I don't know if I spoke about it on the program. I think I did. I'm currently long Oxy, $42 calls. Right now, getting a bump up in the pre-market, up almost 3.5%, which is pretty sizable for Oxy if you guys trade Oxy ever. And we got some oil news overnight, which is causing this nice little push here. So I'm going to keep a tight eye on this because I might want to trim some of those out at the open. Just giving you guys a heads up on that. GoPro we talked about yesterday. As long as it's sitting around like 225, it's probably fine. And I haven't really changed much else, honestly. Yesterday was kind of slow. We'll talk about the Opera thing. There was an Opera outage yesterday, so we'll talk about that. But guys, before the market opens, do me a quick favor. If you haven't already, please like and share the stream wherever you are, whatever platform you're watching on: YouTube, X, Instagram, Twitch, and Kick. I think that's all I'm live at. Do me a favor, interact with the stream in your favorite way, whatever way that is. And if you haven't already, pop on over to YouTube, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If we hit 13 likes today and we get 3 more subscribers to push us over 200, I will do a power hour stream for you guys today. So if you like the content, you want to support the content, and you want more content, pop on over to YouTube, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Thank you in advance for your support. The market is open. Alrighty, my Oxy calls are up around 236, widespread on those, so I'll keep an eye on them. We'll see where that goes in a little bit. Quick update on AUR. I did already get stopped out of this. So I entered it live on the program. I already got stopped out, so we'll see if there's a potential for a re-entry there. Like I said, I risked, I believe, 493. So I already got stopped out of this one. But yesterday was a pretty bearish day, so as we got towards later in the day, I was like, this is probably going to trigger. So I'll look, there might be potential for a re-entry here, but I need to see some bullishness come in like right now, not like right now meaning the open, but like pretty early on for me to feel pretty good about it, I should say. Wow, look at that nice gap. Oxy actually gapped to its red SAR on the daily. So this actually could push pretty solid here, assuming we're seeing some profit taking here at the open. So we'll see if we get a little bit of a bump up on Oxy into the open, or I should say deeper into the open. Where's SPY? We'll keep an eye on Tesla. Again, you want to watch around like 411 on Tesla if you are long or short, whatever. Keep an eye on 411. Market opened up, really didn't go too much of anywhere. Nice little move above all of our EMAs and MAs. Again, basically these three levels you want to keep an eye on. So that's 66734, 66729, and the super devil's number, 666.66. Those are the numbers you want to watch. And again, to the upside, you have this point of resistance here, 66937, and the most important level today, 670.23. The most important level on the week, 670.23. Do not sleep on that level at all. Make sure you're watching that on SPY. Make sure you're watching the VIX as well. Tom says, got stopped out on AUR. Thanks for the update. No problem, my friend. Like I said, it was tight risk to reward, so I'll reassess and see if there's an opportunity there still, but for now, it's a no-go. And it's just one of those unfortunate things where you get in on like a pretty tight risk to reward trade, and that's the kind of the good and the bad, right? You get in on a tight risk to reward where you're only risking a few pennies to the downside for a lot of pennies to the upside. But when you see a day like you had yesterday, you can get stopped out and you have a loss. But again, you're not risking a lot to potentially make a lot, and those are the kinds of trades I love to take. Love, 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 love. Ooh, my GM going? I might close these out. So I am still long some of the GM 65s on the week. Wow, look at this spread. The GM 65s right now, 266, 335. I don't think I mean, I could close those out, but that's a wide spread. Oof. All right, I'll come back to you later. Better, a little green now after back testing AEMA on the daily. Keep an eye on better. I'm watching UPS. And again, this was a stock I was long over here, and I traded it up not very far. I got long somewhere in like the mid to low 90s. I got out around like 104, 103, something like that. This is one of those beat down like safer names that I kind of like here. It looks, what I don't like to see is that it's been running up into its earnings essentially, at least from opening a new long, I should say, and it's at the top of its range. So actually, if I see it sell off into its earnings, and the earnings are on the 28th, that actually would look better to me. So don't sleep on UPS. I do also want to highlight another name. Now, this is a riskier name that I opened some calls on, and it's Sabre, S-A-B-R. These contracts, the $2 November 21st calls, yesterday saw insane volume, and that carried over to today. So the open interest on this chain, I don't even know what it was yesterday. I mean, you can look at the volume down here on my chart, but the open interest on these contracts is now 31,000. Prior to that, what's yesterday's volume? 52,000. So not all of it carried over, obviously. Some people were trading it, whatever, but still stuck over half of that major volume yesterday. For context, this typically trades, look at the volume, under 100. And again, we're talking about the specific chain, but pretty low. So that is a crazy bump in volume. Some of that OI carried over. Looking at the chart here, yes, they're coming into earnings, so keep that in mind. And this is a company that works in the travel sector. So oil can affect this kind of name, and I'm already kind of bullish on oil, so that's why I kind of liked it. Bits and pieces there. But big ol', what I'm looking for here is what's called an island bottom. So if you don't know what an island bottom is, it's when you gap down, form a bunch of price action, then gap back to the upside. The catalyst would be their earnings. So this would be a riskier earnings play in general. But the other thing I'm looking for here is if we just break this 225 in general, you got this big old gap to fill. So even if I'm not being greedy playing into earnings in general, and when yesterday we wicked it and came back down, and we wicked on pretty high volume, so there's a decent rejection there. But breaking this level should lead to some continued upside here on Sabre, at least in the short term, the near term. These contracts are fairly volatile. I personally have a 40-cent entry on these. And then in the small account, I think I'm at 45-cent entry. 40, it's a little bit more than that on the small account. I didn't get as good of an entry, unfortunately. But I am long a little bit of risk here on a name like this. So that's hard volume to ignore. I'm just saying. It's worth a stab here. And with how this is set up, especially if I can get some risk-free into earnings, could have an island bottom here, which would be kind of rad. Be pretty cool, just saying. All right, back to the market. Let's check things out here. Looking kind of boring, but just kind of grinding to the upside here. Not much to see, really. Off of the open, we're up about $1 or so, but bulls are showing some pretty good momentum here. So far, so good. GoPro is back to the downtrend here. I'm sorry, back tested the downtrend yesterday on the daily chart. I hate when Webull does this because it looks like it's testing it here on the 1 minute. It's not. We broke the SAR yesterday on high, massive volume, wick down, and that is one of these things that, again, it might be just a side effect of a bad red day on the market. I still really like GoPro here. This chart looks primed for a solid push, especially if we get a little bit of break over 241 here intraday. This is still looking pretty solid. Tom says Adam is an island boy. I don't know how many people are going to understand who the island boys are, or even that reference, but I get it. GoPro getting a little bit of a move here. Remember, again, I do lean more bullish on the day for the SPY. However, this is the number that really matters. Let's actually pull up the VIX. And then we'll pop on over to all of our sectors and the Mag 7, kind of get an idea of what's going on there. VIX right now sitting 1866. So again, you don't want to be like a super bull on the day until we nail and get under 1830. If that happens, even then you do have some more support here, but at least you have a better feeling that volatility could get pinned down here, which is better, especially if you're a bull. I do anticipate volatility to be a little bit stickier, but we are back in contango, which is good. So for those of you that missed that lesson, there's a video up on my YouTube channel if you want to go check that out about backwardation and contango. We are back in contango, which is good, all things considered. Actually, before I say that, I'm going to triple check right now that we're back in contango before I talk out my butt. Yes, we are back in contango. I'm just looking at all the numbers. So volatility is behaving as it should, which means people are not putting more risk up front, which is what we want to see in terms of market calmness, right? We don't want the market to be scared. We don't want traders to be taking on volatility longs as a hedge. We want traders to de-hedge volatility, essentially, for the health of the overall market, right? Most of us want to be bullish at the end of the day. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on. Now, you got SPY coming up to this first LOI here, so you're going to want to keep a tight eye on that if you are long or bullish on anything, because you could experience a little bit of a reaction at that point in time. Ooh, look at Gap. Look at Gap. Gap. Hard push, 3.23% on the day. And look at this volume here on Gap. Beautiful. Full transparency, I am long some $25 calls for December on Gap that I might close out today. This is for the small account that I run at Exclusive Trading. Looking to see a reaction over this level on Gap. The daily chart was looking pretty solid. What I want to see it break over 22.44 and then get a little bit of a sustained push there. If I get that, I'm more than likely going to realize those calls right now up about 20% on them. So we will see. Ooh, my Oxy calls are at 250. Let's go. Let's go, Oxy. All the oil longs. We are having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day out there. If you guys have any questions in the chat, don't be afraid to ask. Feel free to drop them whenever, and I'll get to you when I can. Or if there's any stocks you want to take a look at, we will do that as well, as I anticipate a slower kind of choppy day on the market. Until we hit 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, where we're going to see Trump rear his head to affect the market once again. So that'll be something. It always is. Volatility at 1860, so it's not too shabby. Looking good. 43.75. I'm actually going to, what do we have, 43. I'm going to trim some oxy calls here. We're going to give 5 more minutes. A little bit of a downtrend forming here. Nice little V bottom here. Looking to see this general 43 area hold. If 43 breaks, then I'm going to want to trim. And again, these are for contracts that are out in another month. So I got plenty of time on them. It's just a matter that I want to realize some profits on a 55% move overnight on calls, which is pretty solid. Don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. GoPro looking really solid. Nice push here at the open on decent volume. Coming back down to backtest just a little bit. Watch 241 once again on GoPro. My GM contracts tighten up. This spread is wild. 250 by 335 on General Motors. That is a crazy spread. Let's look at Peloton. Talked about this one. Crazy candle yesterday. Crazy. We got all the way up to 819, got all the way down to 749. You got rinsed and washed on both ends of the trade on Peloton yesterday. I'm still long the $9 calls for Peloton. For December, those are still green for me. I believe I have a 63-cent entry, currently trading at 79 cents. Still looking pretty solid. What I want to see is a sustained break above basically $8. Nice and simple. Getting above $8 here, you should see some sustained upside here. Daily looks ready to roar, ready to go. It's just really a matter of market sentiment as a whole. A lot of these names that I like right now are heavily dependent on, as you guys know, I like to say the wind blowing at your back, right? AUR is a victim of this yesterday where the wind was blowing in its face, right? I tried to go long and the market decided to dump. You want the wind blowing at your back as much as possible. You want to be long when the market's long. You want to be risk on when the market looks risk on. And again, intraday, things are leaning more bullish, which is good. However, weekly, we are leaning more bearish. So for me as a trader, with it being Thursday, what I want to do intraday today is more than likely look to close out some longs, take some profit, especially if we get up to here on the SPY, 670.23, and especially if VIX doesn't sink under 1830, because that's telling me that we could see a red day potentially tomorrow, because we're still seeing bearish on the week and tomorrow's Friday. So those are the kinds of things I want you guys to think about when you're trading today, is that yes, you may lean more bullish, like I'm leaning more bullish today, and we do have 2 White House catalysts later today, so who knows what happens then. But even though I am leaning more bullish on the day, that could change very quickly. So I don't want to, again, I use the phrase look a gift horse in the mouth. You don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth in this climate because things can sour like that. And yesterday was a good example of things souring like that, right? If we go back to yesterday, we broke that 670 level, got some level of kind of a back test, but we just grinded at that point. And volatility just went up, 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 up. So you don't want to be a risk taker in general when volatility is elevated. Gap is near that trigger point of 2244. Toby said he's watching PLTR on the daily for a move to the upside soon. I actually saw a lot of bearishness on Palantir, but I haven't actually looked at the chart. For me, I'm not touching it. It's so range bound here with earnings coming up, and you are below your short-term EMAs, but still above your 50, which is good. But it's very rangy here, where it's just, I mean, if you're intraday trading it, you'll probably be fine. But you're stuck between 170 to 185-ish, which is a pretty big range, all things considered. But with earnings coming up, I'll tell you one thing, I don't see strength here. I don't necessarily see, if I'm leaning on the daily chart, it leans more bearish, actually. Look at this weekly, though. Look how tight this price action is. This validates what I just said about being in a tight range here. That's my feelings on it. The other thing you're noticing is a drop on volume here. Overall, volume has been moving down on the weekly on Palantir, and you're kind of sitting near all-time highs. And in fact, you've left a wick every time you tried to move up. This is looking very distributive to me. This is looking more bearish than bullish. Unless these earnings completely blow it out of the water, I would actually lean very bearish on Palantir. Now, again, it's range bound, so I'd prefer to wait for the range to break before solidifying that, and you could simply just use the 50 MA. Or if you like it, you can risk the 50 MA for long, or use it as a stop. But I wouldn't. In general, this isn't a name I would touch at this evaluation with this kind of chart, because I see an argument both ways, especially when it's choppy like this. But I would be very careful. Intraday trading, you're fine. You can look at your charts for like a 1 and a 5 minute, make a move, but a little bit longer than that, I'd exercise some extra caution. Those are just my 2 cents. Gap projected just shy of that 2244. We'll come back to that. The VIX getting fired down here. Do we get some news? It's 9:45, so there might have been something coming through. Let's see. Do we get anything? By the way, market on order imbalance was pretty flat, so we're not seeing anything crazy there. Okay, Kuwait's oil minister, OPEC, is ready to offset any shortage in the market by rolling back output cuts. I'm going to close some of my oxy calls now. Where's my oxy call? Oxy. Close. What are we at? Maybe I'll wait a little bit longer. But I'm definitely going to take some profit here pretty soon. I'll keep an eye on it. I don't like it intraday under 43. And after a harsh move up, like I said, I want to definitely take the profit if I can. Lock in those gains. And c'est la vie. Right? Move on with my life. Sorry if I'm a little quiet. I'm off screen. Thinking. I'll come back to it in a little bit. Volatility still moving down, which is good to see. Get rid of Palantir for now. Okay, good. And I'll come back to the path moving to the upside here. This is one I like long term. I actually might get back into this one today. I like this one quite a bit. It is one of these AI stocks. You do have the 200 MA on the weekly. It's a little bit risky, so you want to keep that in mind. I'm not long it anymore right now, but this is one that I keep on watch in case I want to get back in kind of thing. The market has broken the 66937 LOI as we approach the key level of 670.23, just about 50 cents shy of that at this point in time. GoPro got a pop. We're over that 241 key LOI here. This is a trigger. I already mentioned this one yesterday. I'm already long this one. This is a key trigger here, this 241 LOI. You want to see, in a perfect world, big ol' Marubozu, right? Huge engulfing candle, no wicks on either side, ideally. So you want to see, if you're a Super Bowl, or if you want to be a Super Bowl, you want to see GoPro close north of 273 today, believe it or not. That would be mega bullish on GoPro. Mega bullish. Holy crap. GM up to 68.35. This was anything over 68 was like my price target. All right, I am closing those out. All right, I am all out of GM now. Let's go. Oh. I don't even know. What was that? All right, so I filled at 335. So from a 128 entry, I have a 161% gain. Let's go. All out GM, 161% gain. No losses for me so far this week. It has been a fantastic week. We have been rocking and rolling. Love to see it. SPY is at that key level right now. Hold on, I'm updating my my log here. Volatility still dropping. I'm getting like 15 alerts right now. Well, I'm getting bombarded. All right, got something big. It makes sense. Whenever I see a bunch of alerts go off at the same time when SPY is at a key level, it kind of tells you quite a bit, you know? Kind of tells you quite a bit. Now you're going to want to watch the second level here, 670.57. See if that gets any love here to push any higher to the upside. Where's my volatility? Here we go. VIX is under 1830. So now this is a scenario in which we've now pushed bullish on the week. Over this, we're bullish on the week, and volatility actually moves into decay here. So that is the most bullish outlook here at this point in time. So that's a very, very good look on the day here thus far. We'll see if volatility continues to grind down. Gap is back on that trigger again, 22.44. Man, might have got screwed there on AUR, but we'll come back and see later today if there is an opportunity on that one. I would watch SPY here for the back test. So you got two different very strong resistances here, especially after this move up. You're going to want to see it get a little comfortable here first, so some level of consolidation here before going to the upside. Great volume on the break, but again, we've only gone up from the open. So in a perfect world, right, we kind of just see it chop around in here a little bit before going to the upside. So we want to see in a perfect world here on SPY. That would be the most bullish outlook, actually. Getting it to cool off from the bull move before it pushes even harder to the upside. Guess I can get rid of that off the watch list. Better get a nice little move here, back up to 70 bucks or so. Let's check out our... Let's check out our Mag 7 names. We still have NVIDIA lagging under that 183.30 level, which is very important. As you guys know, I talk about that ad nauseum. So you're right under that right now. Still under that, I should say. So for bullish semiconductors, you want to see over that level. Google's been pretty solid. Not over yesterday's high yet. About $2 off, but looking better, right? Not too bad. Actually had some bullish news come out last night, so that's pretty good. Microsoft is above all these little key ranges here. It has been very kind of choppy range bound. I think it's overdue for a hard push here. It lines up with earnings. Makes a lot of sense. Earnings are next Wednesday. Yes, next Wednesday for Microsoft. This is building a hell of a base here. So if they are bullish or perceived bullish, like I like to say, Microsoft's actually set up for a solid move to the upside here. Apple is now back testing these two key LOIs. Remember, you had that 257.35 and this 259.24, currently just shy underneath that. So Apple actually could be in play here into earnings for a potential long if it can sustain over that 259.24 area. I personally probably wouldn't take it just because of where the market's sitting right now. In general, I think there probably are better opportunities. But if you like the idea, that's what I would personally watch. Tesla came all the way down to hit 411. What do we get? 413.90. So I said as long as you're north was 411.61, you're pretty solid. Nice little V-ish bottom here to grind back to the upside over opens price. Nice little push here on Teslas. It looks like bulls are buying the dip. Amazon still sub 221, but looking good here into the open. Meta, again, has really impressed me with how it sustained over this 708.02 area. Moving into earnings, I actually anticipate it to come down just a bit, probably settle around like the 730 area, just shy into their earnings. Open, for those of you following, are at the 50 MA, around $7. Crocs having a good day. Talked about Crocs on the program here. Up a little bit, up about 1% at 84. This one's gonna pop here pretty soon, I think. You got, if earnings are bullish on Crocs, this one's a mover. It's boring, but it's a mover. it will be a mover. All right, SPY now has back tested that general area. Like I said, again, I'd prefer if it bounced around in here a little bit more before getting a break to the upside. But we will wait and see for now. We will wait and see. Not much else going on at the moment. I do want to wait a bit longer before I personally take any day trades because I need to see how we react down here on the VIX and I need to see how the SPY reacts. That's essentially going to dictate if I'm going to look to open new positions today in terms of day trading. Now, I actually made this a little bit of a message in the Discord today. What I said was I'm actually looking for better swing opportunities, more risk on-ish swing opportunities for November or December because what I'm looking at right now, if the market can sustain over this level, because it's important, we're more than likely going to push to 700 by the end of the year. And if you guys have been watching for a while, you know I've said that. I really believe we're going to push over 700 by the end of the year. I don't think that will be, and now it's definitely not a far cry, but I was saying that months ago back, or before August, actually. I was saying that down here around like 620, that we're going to see 700 by the end of the year. If you don't believe me, there's a video on my YouTube channel. But I did also say that I was anticipating some level of a correction. And by a correction, by definition, looking for about like a 10% drawdown. We never got that. However, this might be the drawdown that the market wanted. This little 3% fall from all-time highs. It really all hinges on how volatility behaves. If volatility comes down a bit more, this is going to confirm to me that we're basically going to push into the end of the year. So I'm actually moving more risk off from day trading at this point in time and more into swing trading because I believe you're going to see more overnight opportunities than you are going to see day trade opportunities, at least in this juncture. And look at this in real time right now. This is why I give you guys these levels to watch because they're so important. You have the 670.23 acting as resistance. Look where VIX is, right at 1830. Whenever you see that relationship very tightly together, we're moving in basically in conjunction with each other, it validates your thesis. And that validates my thesis here to still be careful because this is a strong weekly level. Volatility LOIs, as I call them, tend to hold much stronger than just like a normal like LOI on a stock. So they're more reactive, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't anticipate this to break unless essentially we come down here to 1808 and now we're range bound on volatility, which would again be preferable. But that's why I said I wouldn't be long this yet on the market because there's a strong chance that we were either going to consolidate or break under a little bit, which we're under. At this point, look for us to get caught at 66937, bounce around here before getting confirmed break and push high a day. That is, again, in a more perfect world, what I'd like to see. Hold the 66937. Maybe bounce back and forth once, twice, break it and push for a new high a day. That would be the bull case. The bear case is if we break under this 66937 and if volatility remains north of 1830, then there's a strong possibility this sweeps back to open. So as you can see, there's still a strong risk either which way for both the bulls and the bears, which is why I'm highlighting the opportunity of some of these swing names or even some of these more risk on names like GoPro, where you have better opportunity in the market right now trading a stock like GoPro versus and swinging conversely a stock like GoPro versus trading the SPY intraday, at least at this juncture. And this is coming from someone, and you guys have seen on the program, who trades SPY very regularly. I day trade SPY quite frequently. And even then, it's not that I doubt what's going on here. It's just more, what's the word? There's not enough meat on the bone. There's not enough to entice me, I guess. There's not the opportunity to use that same money and put it elsewhere is far greater than to put that money into an intraday trade on the market right now. Couple that in with Trump, again, pulling down his pants, just farting into a microphone at any point in time that makes the market go up with a hot air or down because it's a fart, makes it more random at this point in time with us being at such a sensitive level on the market with volatility and where the market is. We're at such a sensitive point that I don't want that ultra short-term exposure with like a 1 DTE or a 0 DTE unless we're at a critical point where I'm like pretty confident and I can get in and out or go risk-free very quickly. So that's kind of like my 2 cents here on the market and why I'm actually not trading the SPY currently. And again, to reiterate, I'm someone who trades the SPY very actively. So not doing that is the move, at least in my opinion. With that being said, the market's trying to break over the 670.23 level. We're wicking it right now. Again, I anticipate this to come down first. However, VIX is back under 1830. So you're going to see this being a real sticking point on the day here. These two levels, 1830 on the VIX, 670.23 on the SPY. Oop, gap breaking the high, trying to break the high. This is why I'm trying to focus on these individual names, because when I'm talking about these individual names in the program, it's because I see better opportunity in them. So I see a better opportunity in Gap. I see a better opportunity in a name like GoPro. I see a better opportunity in Sabre. Even though these are riskier trades, there's a better opportunity. The risk to reward is better than me kicking around in the mud. Like I could have taken a short there at 670.23, but actually let's see, because I haven't checked this yet. At the money, at the money, IV is on par, but IV percentile is 63%, so it's a little high. Let's just say I opened 670 puts on that tap. Let's see what I would have made. Just to see. Let's say I opened it on, well, that's the same 1 minute candle. So 1001. Let's say I'm the best trader in the world, and I open up those puts all the way at the low of this candle at 122, and I close all the way at the high. It's 160. Not realistic, but let's see. 60, 122. Okay, that's a 30% gain in under a minute. So that might have been worth my time. Might have been worth my time. Probably not on a 1 DTE, but a 0 could have worked there. Oh, well, it's fine. It is fine. All right, I think I'm going to close out the gap call for the seed decree account, unless it's, what are we at? What are we at? About a 15% gain, 18%, 15% gain. We'll see if it pushes a little harder. I think I can get a few more shekels out of it. We'll see, we'll see. Other names to watch that I'm currently long and interested. Viking, VKTX, currently up 12% on the day. A monster right now. Looking solid. We talked about GoPro Better, BETR, currently over that $70 level, up 6% on the day. This is a stock I think I've talked about on the program. If I haven't, here's one that you're probably going to want to keep a tight eye on. Stock ticker RXT. So this is RXT, Rackspace Technology, and this is one of the stocks I've been long for quite some time now. And I really, really like this stock. So I have a close relative who is a nurse. And this is basically the backbone of one of the major nursing applications called Epic. They provide all of like the IT, the background for this program. And it is like the Rolls Royce in the hospital world, right? Of how to track patient information. They provide basically all the backbone for that. And any hospital that has a that loves their patients and wants to provide the best quality care, etc., uses Epic, which means they use RXT, and also RXT has other exposure to other things, but I actually like it for that healthcare proxy exposure. Looking at RXT on the chart here, basically has been building a base now for about 6 months. Very range bound, did get all the way down to $1, but if it breaks over this 160 area, which if you want to look localized here in this last month or two, looking pretty solid. We're just kind of grinding up here, and it's not really going to be too exciting. If it breaks this 160 area, you got this 200 MA here as well, coming up on earnings also. If it breaks this 160 area, this one's going to move hard. This one will move very hard, very fast, and we'll probably get back up to the 250 area, where you're looking at another $1 in appreciation here, roughly whatever that is, a 60% gain on equity on RXT. Do not sleep on this company. Look into it yourself. I think this is a very rare opportunity. I know the stock price is a little low. It is a riskier name. It's a smaller cap name. It's a $375 million company. But if we zoom all the way out, this company was all the way up here back in 2020. So take into account COVID times, right? Up at like $20. Now, realistically, what I see as a fair valuation for this company is somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion plus at its current juncture. That would throw you in the ballpark of $3 to $4.50, depending on moving and whatever. Somewhere in that $1 billion to $2 billion range. So basically in here, that's what I'm looking for on Rackspace. So if you like this idea, you like this trade, I think with the proper risk, I'll pick my words carefully here. RXT could be a fantastic trade if you're smart and if you're patient. And this is a name I've been patient on. I've been loading and loading and loading and loading. So I'm personally very bullish on this. I know a little bit about the company, or quite a bit about the company, as I've been loading it. This is one of my longer equity names. I believe my average is somewhere down here in like a buck. I've been dollar cost averaging into this one $1.30-ish. So I'm up about 30 cents or so on this name on my personal account. But like I said, if it breaks over 160, which I guess we're inking towards today a little bit, if we break towards 160, or especially over the 200 MA here, this name's going to push, and we're at 160 right now as I'm talking about it. So, and we're getting high volume as I'm talking about it. So this might happen right now. So you're going to want to keep an eye on Rackspace in general. And like I said, the opportunity here I'm looking at is somewhere longer term, because it's a long-term trade for me. This is an investment. I'm looking at the $3 to $4.50 range. That's going to put you ballpark between $1 billion to $2 billion. In that juncture, I think it's at fair evaluation. Now, things can change between now and then, especially if earnings comes through and they have a brand new way to make more money. And that's obviously going to be way more bullish. But I would not sleep on the opportunity that Rackspace provides at this current juncture. Again, to reiterate, with the proper size, with the proper risk, and to be very clear, this is not a short trade for me. This is something that has been, and will continue to be an investment because I like the company. So it's very different than some of these other momentum trades that I've highlighted in the past. This is more of a longer term trade that may just happen to be on the precipice of a break very, very soon. And that's my thoughts on RXT. Cool. I made that a little video for people. I kind of want to buy calls. Is that so wrong that I want to buy calls? Is there anything wrong with that? Oh, man. Guess I have to keep an eye on it today. Like I said, 160 is a big trigger level. Had a gap wick above and come back down to back test at 22.44. Again, if this holds on gap, this could get a nice push intraday here. Looking for 23.18. Old gap to the upside here, so that'd be really nice. This daily chart's looking great. Oxy's chopping around. SPY coming back down. Here we go. Back testing that 66937. As the crystal ball said, we'll see what happens here. Saber about 5 cents off of its trigger point. GoPro back testing the 241 area. Where's my VIX? VIX is north 1830. Again, if VIX is north 1830, you probably want to be a little bit more risk averse in this environment. We will see what happens. Interesting open, honestly. Very interesting. Knowing where we're pinned on the daily, knowing what we're looking at on the weekly chart, and knowing where SPY is right now, and knowing that we have Trump twice later today, or at least the White House press briefing and Trump later today, makes for a very interesting day that we could have here on the market. So it could be very, don't want to use the word explosive, but could be very explosive. So that's something we're going to want to keep a very tight eye on in general. So far, SPY is holding that 66937. We got a little bit of a bull cool down here. So that's good if you're a bull on the day. You want to get some level of a push here to the upside. Not too shabby. Did we move up on, what do we got for late? I've got 2 likes on the stream. Oh my goodness. Oh man, are we cooked, as the kids say, guys? We might be cooked. We might be cooked. Oh no. Do we move up in subs? Do we at least have do we get any subs? Do we move up to 200 subs? Let's see. Nope. I'm gonna have to delete that goal out of shame. That's shameful. 2 likes is shame. I'm putting my whole family to shame. I'll leave it up for a little longer. We'll see. RXT could be breaking that key level here. More volume. I want to look at the option chain. Let's see if there's some outstanding OI here. January contracts have a little bit, which makes sense. You got leaps. I'm like confident that someone's gonna load. I might load the RXD $2 for December. I just don't like that the earnings are so close. That's typically like a risk I don't like to take. Unless I can get in, get out, but this, I'll wait to see how we react to 200 MA. Thanks, Tom. Tom says he's going to call his mom and tell her to subscribe. Hell yeah. Appreciate the support. Oh no, no! SPY has broken beneath the 66937 with volatility north of the 1830. This is what I warned of. No. So now there's the bear scenario is actually more likely unless we get out of here within like 5-minute window. Like meaning we recover back above 66937. The bear opportunity here, the more likely outcome here is that we go back to basically open price on SPY. Especially with VIX moving up. The higher likelihood occurrence here is that SPY going back to open. So buckle in. If you're not ready, just at least take that into consideration. If you're bullish on anything, maybe tighten the ship up a little bit, depending on what it is. If you're bullish right now, like I am on something like Gap or actually, how's Walmart doing? Ooh, Walmart's seeing a little bit red as the market pushed. So something like Walmart is something to consider if you want some defensive posturing if you think the market may go down, which is something I'm kind of considering here. It's like a quasi-defensive play, which still could just push up here. The daily's not bad. The weekly's not bad. The monthly's a little hot. But you kind of like had a decent range here. Something like this, and I put it in a notes on for a small account, is something I would take as a spread trade. So I'd look at Walmart for a spread trade. That way I could get in a little bit cheaper and have time not, theta me into existence, into obscurity on a directional call. Oh man, Rackspace is at the 200 MA. What? Go away. Rackspace is at Rackspace is at its highest price that it's been in 6 months, 7 months almost. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Good volume here too. It's times like these I want to buy more shares. I'll wait to see if we backtest because it's a key level on the daily, like I said. I don't love that earnings are so close, but this is one I like quite a bit. I guess we'll come back to it. We'll see. As the day goes on, we'll come back. Aurora back down at $5. Okay, so like I said, SPY had about a 5-minute window to get out of here. We're at like a 3-minute here. And we wicked it and rejected. So we've had 2 taps of the 66937 resistance now coming under. You have the 50 MA here, the purple line on my chart as well. So this is pretty tight. Red star coming down. So if the bulls do get a pop here, they will reverse it. However, that needs to happen again in like 2 to 3 minutes. Once again, no position, nor will I take a position on SPY like this. I don't know if I talked about CRMC on here. Or CMRC. There we go, Commerce. This is one of those companies that I've been loading like Rackspace. Actually, I did a video on this one, but it was, and I think I brought it up earlier this week. The stock ticker used to be BIG. It's now CMRC. Call me crazy. Maybe you can clip this. In a few years, maybe 2 years, I anticipate this to be $20 billion company. It is currently a $40 million company or $400 million company, or to be bought out. One of the two. That's a big call. So if you're patient, you like shares and you want an investment, CMRC, especially if you like tech. CRMC. Very, very, very bullish, good risk to reward in my, down here, very good risk to reward. And like I said, this could also be a buyout target for someone like a Shopify. And if you don't know, commerce.com does something very similar to Shopify, but has a smaller market share. If they grow, and they've actually been doing a lot better lately, we'll see how the earnings are. If earnings are bullish, this thing's ready to rip, in my opinion. Good risk to reward on equity. I also am long some, what are they? Got them down here somewhere. $5 calls for November. Those are a little risky. I'm near the money, but a little risky. This name doesn't like to move like that, but pretty solid. Man, RXT breaking the 200 MA. Good volume. Look at this melting up. 12% on the day. Let's go RXT, baby. Let's actually take a peek. So I'm experimenting with a new tool. I'm learning something new. So based on what I'm learning, like something new, because even though I've been doing this now for 14 years, I'm willing to learn something new as always. And based on what I'm now learning, it's looking like things are leaning more bullish on the day as a whole. And that's completely separate information from technical analysis. So we'll see if that supports our technical levels, which, again, we have failed this level. There's a strong probability we're going back to open price on SPY. Very, 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 very likely outlook that we are dropping here on SPY. We're going to get rid of this light goal because it ain't happening. As much as I wanted to, it ain't happening, which is okay. Regardless, I appreciate all of your support who are watching the program, and I hope you guys, if you didn't make any money, which today I haven't taken any trades, but hopefully you guys are learning something. VIX getting a pop here. You're learning when to be risk on versus risk off. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, a little bit of a tirade. Yesterday I had someone say, how come you didn't take puts? Not me directly, but how come we didn't take puts when the market was clearly in a downtrend? I am someone who is very specific when I take puts, and when I do, they tend to hit. In fact, my win ratio on taking puts specifically is higher than when I take any other trade, equity, calls, whatever. When I'm short, I'm very particular when I'm short. And there are times where I think the best traders in general, and it comes with maturity, you have to learn when to be risk on in the market versus risk off. When you're watching me live, I give you very specific parameters. Today, the most specific parameter, the easiest thing, is this big old red line on your chart. If you don't have it, put it on your chart. Put this big old red line on your chart. That's it. 670.23. If you are under that, and if VIX is north of 1830, risk off. If you're under 1830, and the SPY is north of 670.23, risk on and definitely lean bullish. We have not had a confirmed break. We had a little bit of a pop-up here, sold off, rejected, and rejected again. You need to stay above this level to be bullish to go risk on. Under this level, you should be looking risk off. Because volatility is moving higher. You as a trader, when the VIX goes higher, you personally, you listening to me, and everyone, theoretically and from a probability standpoint, will be less successful than more successful. And if you're here to spend money, you're here to trade, right? You want to be more successful. So would you rather take 10 trades that all hit, or 9 of them hit, whatever, and you make money, and you have one loser, right? Or would you rather take 20 trades where 10 of them hit and 10 don't? Now, obviously, depending on how you structure your risk reward and whatever, that can change things. But most people want to take a more surefire bet than not. And like I said, if you feel the urge to trade every single day, no matter what, you are not a trader, you're not an investor, you're probably an addict. Now, that sounds a little contradictory because most days I trade every single day, but I mean day trade, right? You can always take a swing opportunity, buy equity, whatever. But I mean, I need to burn through all my buying power every single day. I need to day trade over and over and over and over. And you feel like you get down to the computer and you just take the needle and you have to shoot it in your arm. And you probably need to take a step back, and you got to go through that maturity phase, which is understanding there are certain climates that you stick the needle in your arm and you're all go. You put everything on, you make a ton of money. There are climates when you go heavy risk on. There are other climates, like right now, actively as I'm talking about it, where just because the market's going down doesn't mean I'm a bear. That doesn't mean I need to put money on and bet on the put side. It means I need to actually be more risk off because of where volatility is in relation to the market. That's also why I'm highlighting other names like RXT that is blowing it. Let's go, up 15% of the day. But other names here where there's still solid opportunities where you can get longer term contracts on these names or longer term exposure, equity, whatever, and probably get better risk to reward on a swing because you will have these opportunities in a higher volatility environment where you have names that are still green, like Sabre, which is barely green, or GoPro, which has moved down red, or GM, right? You have opportunities, especially through earnings season, where some of these names actually thrive pretty well in a higher volatility environment, and you're not exposed to as much randomness and news sensitivity that the SPY is. So for example, let's say Trump comes out and he says something that makes the market go, whoa, right? Either goes up or goes down really quick. If you're trading SPY, you're going to have a bad time. I don't care if you're a bull or a short, you're just going to have a bad time. Whether or not you win or lose, it doesn't matter. What matters is it's going to be stressful, right? It's going to be a period of randomness that is not going to be fun. However, if you're trading another name like Gap or any of the other names I've mentioned today, Trump saying how we're trading with China, unless you are trading a specific name that has a relation to that or something about tariffs or whatever, which tariffs, I guess, impact most companies. But if he says something that he's like, oh, we're going to buy quantum computing stocks, right? And you're trading Gap, that doesn't affect you. It's going to affect the SPY, it's going to affect IWM as a whole, it's going to affect, obviously, the quantum computing stocks, but it's not really going to affect Gap or Oxy or any of these other names, GoPro. Like, it's not going to, maybe it will affect GoPro for like for companies that are like heavily shorted, but more than likely aren't going to affect most names, right? That's where I want your guys' head to be when volatility is higher, when we have these higher volatility environments. 9 times out of 10, we don't have a high VIX. Most of the time, volatility is calm. Lately, volatility has been high, and you can make a lot of money when volatility is high. Guess what, though? You can also lose a lot of money. So the most prudent thing to do in these times is to, as I like to say, switch gears. Good traders always have the ability to switch gears, to change their outlook, to go from, hey, I'm very day trade heavy to very swing heavy, very investment heavy, whatever it is, right? When we had the tariff crash, the move to do, like back in April, the move to do was be investment heavy, heavy on equity. Nvidia was like $80 at that point in time or whatever. It died, right? All these other big companies died. That's where you want to go, all right, I want to buy equity now. No time restrictions, and I can rock and roll, and it's probably going to be just fine in a year, 2 years, whatever from now. You got to always be able to look for those opportunities and not say every single day, I need to trade. I need to burn through my buying power. I need to make money. The more you do that, the more you're going to lose. I promise. It may work for a little bit. You may feel good for a little bit. You might be on a roll for a little bit, but that leads to bad trading habits. And eventually, maybe not right away, like I said, you might kill it. Eventually, as it always goes, you will more than likely over leverage on a trade that's too short on time, meaning you're buying like a 0 DTE. And let's say you put in 10% of your portfolio and then it goes down a little bit and you're like, oh, well, now it's cheaper than I entered. Maybe I buy more. Now you're at 30% and then it goes down more. And then you're like, can't go down more than this. Better buy more. Then you buy at the end of the time, you know that you've fully ported the trade and it expires in 20 minutes. And you're crying about how you made such a stupid mistake. I've been there. I made dumb mistakes. I'm not excusing myself from the inability to make stupid mistakes, but the reason why I bring it up is because a lot of people will make those mistakes in this climate. And it may be like a broken record for some of you that watch this program quite often, where I say things like this, and even if it is a broken record, you can at least find solace in knowing that I'm beating it into your head. And if you're new here, well, hopefully you at least take what I'm saying into consideration with your trading in these higher volatility environments. I get it. It's not sexy. It's not what you want to hear from a furu on the internet. It's not what you want, what sounds good. It's not the 1000% gain screenshot that you see on Twitter, right? It's not that. What it is actually how to get to next week, next month, next year with more money than you had that you started with. That's my goal. I want you guys to make more money as time goes on. I don't want you to become rich overnight, because that also teaches you the wrong way too. You have no appreciation for the money you made if you go from and take it from someone who has gone from a very small amount of money to a very large amount of money and then gave it all back. I did that back with AMC. I made a lot of money. I gave most of it back. I netted some, but I gave a large amount of potential gains back. No one's perfect, but you got to learn these lessons along the way. You got to learn when it's time to go risk on, risk off. And when you are going risk on in certain assets or risk off in certain assets, where to rotate and where to look, where there could be opportunity, where you're leaning a little bit more defensively or a little bit more offensively in certain ways where the market really doesn't affect you. Because as I like to say, you want the wind blowing at your back. You want the SPY to move in the direction that you're going, which 9 times out of 10 probably is bullish. But when the market looks a little bearish here, meaning it's underneath this key weekly level and volatility is bullish, or at least in expansion, we're north of 1830 still, you want to look for careful positions. Still make money, still be a bull, still be a bear, but that's why I say risk on and risk off is not the same as being a bull and being a bear. I rest my case. I'm get off my soapbox now. Was that rant helpful? Did that help anyone? Is that good? Is that bad? I saw the viewer count go up during the rant, so I'm assuming people were interested in said rant. So hopefully you guys listening found some value in that little rant. I think we're going to put a bow on it here pretty soon. I'll open up the chat like I like to do right before the end of the show. I typically go to around 10:30-ish, so it's 10:26. We'll wrap it up here pretty soon. So I'll open up to you guys. If you have any charts or any questions you have, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll fire through them. If not, I'll be leaving you momentarily. And I do have a very small surprise, which Toby already guessed. But I'm trying to break the curse. And for those of you that have watched the program, you know that there's a curse. And the curse currently is anytime I wear specifically this Green Day shirt, the market ends up red. So far, it is, I think it's 4 for 4. When I've worn this specific shirt, the SPY closes red. I wanted to be a bull today. I felt more bullish on the day. So I'm wearing the shirt to try to break the curse. Try to break the Green Day t-shirt indicator curse. So we're going to see later on today. I'll probably make a post on it on Twitter. If the Green Day shirt curse is broken or not. Because I do lean more bullish intraday, especially if we can get over this level and get under 1830 on the VIX. The market should push bullishly. If it doesn't, it's not going to be pretty. With that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap it up for you. Thank you for tuning in. This will be probably the final show of the week. I'm working on a new show called Atomcash After Dark in the background. That's going to be like an after show after the market closes. I don't know when we're going to necessarily launch that, but I'm trying to give you guys more content, hopefully that you guys can make more money with, which I'm sure you are all going to be very happy with. But if you enjoy the content, you like everything, do me a quick favor. If you haven't already, pop on over to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe. Again, once we get to 500 subscribers, this will be an every single day morning show. So if you enjoy the show and you haven't already, do me a favor, hop on over there, hit subscribe, and maybe share it with any of your friends that are in finance, which is a very small community. I think I have one friend who's actually interested in like one in real life friend who actually has any interest in finance. And I think a lot of people just can't be bothered. So I wouldn't be surprised if not anyone else has a lot of in real life friends. That's why we're such a friendly community online, because we don't have anyone else we can have these conversations with, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Anyway, have a great day, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Please, please, please trade smart. Remember specifically what I mentioned on SPY. Keep an eye on 1 o'clock. Keep an eye on 3 o'clock. That's when we have some pending catalysts. You're going to want to be very careful during those times. And never forget, some will say you may need an edge to trade. Well, I like to look at things from a different angle, and that's always what you get right here on the Atomcash angle. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and I will see you next week. Take care.
Time has passed, and that's a wrap. You're armed with the angle and your plan of attack. While the show is at an end, your journey continues. We live